The physical plant here. He's going to talk about some things, and then Russ is going to talk about watering, pests, etc., and various Russ wisdoms. So I'm going to kick it over to them. Are you going to start, Roger?
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, go.
Wow, what a crew.
Yeah.
Good to see you all. Michelle keeps calling me the mayor. I think really I'm the resident troll. I sort of appear on occasion and make sure things are still attached and sort of operational. And I depend on everyone that uses this place to stay in contact with either me or Russ or whoever's name is listed on that board over there if anything has gone wrong or is broken, or if you need assistance with stuff. What I wanted to touch base with everybody today on is, ta-da, this is the hoop house. It's 30 by 40 feet by, ask Rich Trimble, 13 feet high, because he was working on the ridge pole the other day. It's a long way to the ground, believe me. We've got running water, finally. We'll continue to improve that a little bit. The only issue on water is make sure you shut it off at the admin building where the hose ends. So if things rupture or freeze, we're not paying the town exorbitant amounts of money for water that we're not using. Not that hasn't happened at least twice that I remember, so we want to take care of that. Other sort of rules and regulations here. We're a little tight on parking, as you've noticed. When you park here, do not block the garage doors because that's access for the people in the admin building and the fire department. We don't want to get on their bad side. If you show up on a weekend and the gate is closed at the beginning of the road, you will be able to open it, but close it behind you because we're trying to keep peace with Tim Fryery and his farm and keep the crowds down to a minimum. This is not a public place, so the hordes really aren't allowed in here. The hoop house is on this property as we are literally guests of Barnstable County, and we're here at through their graciousness, if I may say so. What else do I have for lovely stuff here? Invents sidewalls are automatic at this point. We've got them set on thermostats. We will roll them up to a set height. We're trying to, at this point, to sort of hold the temperature a little bit cooler in here because primarily we're growing natives and perennials right now. Charlotte has started stuff under those cloches over there. And those are on heat mats. And Beth is going to be starting dahlias between today and Monday at some point. And also we're using heat mats on that stuff. So we're creating microclimates in here as opposed to trying to heat this whole structure, which would be the cost of heating a house, which from a cost-benefit analysis doesn't really work for the amount of plants we're growing, and the fact that we're growing dozens of varieties and they all have all their little individual needs. We've got 26 tables. We've got space under the tables. I think we're going to be able to accommodate all the plants that people are saying they're going to be growing this year. Stuff's going to be moving in and out. Tomatoes, I think, are moving in on probably the middle of April, and perennials will be moving out in that time frame. So we're shuffling stuff back and forth on a constant basis. Useless bits of information. This is a big airfoil, and as such, when you hit winds like we had the other day of 60 miles an hour, it generates an uplift. The uplift is about 220 pounds per linear foot, which means this has the lift capacity of a DC-3. You don't want to be in here during a hurricane. What else is there? That is really it. Oh, I'm going to nail one of these to the wall or pass them around. That's a QR code, and there's a spaceship hanging right there from that little chain. That monitors the temperature and the humidity in here, and it's connected to the county weather station over there. And if you scan this with your iPhone, you'll get to the website, and it will show you temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, PAR, light, wind direction, temperature inside the hoop house. Right now, for a while, temperature inside Charlotte's cloche. I check this probably twice a day. If you're a team leader, you'll want to check it daily. You want to know if things are freezing, if they're going to freeze, or if they're cooking. You'll get used to it, and you'll learn to love it. So, scan that.
Isn't it, don't you have to go down to GHSE to see what the internal...
All right, GHSE, which is what we got labeled. It's a hoop house, but it's a greenhouse, but, you know. And Charlotte's is labeled what, Russ?
Storage?
Storage, I think, because that's what it started out as. And we moved it around. It's sort of interesting to watch. You can see the trends in the mean temperatures rising. There's temperature gauges in the soil down to, 18 or 24 inches. You can tell when the ground's thawed. You can also see how much moisture's in the soil. So it'll help you also with your own gardening. Other than that, we've got some tools. The water hose is on a reel. It's just like your local garage and their air hoses. You pull it out, it will latch, and then you can go around and water. The pressure is not tremendous, but that's all right as far as I'm concerned. That means you have a little more finesse when you're watering as opposed to flooding the floors. Have I missed anything? Who knows? Who heard this last year? Yeah, did I miss anything?
Do you want people to sign in the notebook when they're here?
It helps. We'll keep it where there's a clear spot, probably on the potting bench here. I like to be able to track who's been in and, you know, what's happening, what's occurring. I make notes as to if I've repaired stuff or if I've adjusted stuff. Take a quick look at it, sign in, sign out, and you can see what's happening to the environment here.
Also, you had last year put together kind of a policies or a protocol here that we'll distribute when we put the agenda for the plant sale meeting next week.
This is also labeled and usually nailed to the wall. It's on Google Drive. It covers everything I just said for the most part. What else does it say? It says, remember everything you learned in kindergarten. Be polite. Don't get too grumpy. The other thing is, be careful in here of trip hazards. You're going to find hoses on the floor. You're going to find mud. You're going to find water. Be careful working around the edges and the corners of all these benches. There's sharp edges. There's wires that stick out. If you're like me, I caught my butt on this several times, and you know it's why I'm wearing long shirts. So be careful of that. This is literally an industrial environment, and you got to be a little bit careful. That's all. Russ, it's all yours.
I have to file incident reports with the county because this is on county property and you are volunteers. So, you know, if you fall and you get hurt, or even if you just fall and you don't think you're hurt, you still need to let me know. All right?
Then what happens?
What's that?
Then what happens?
He calls for somebody to pick you up. Go get him.
Yeah, then what happens? So I don't like doing that. So it causes a pain in the butt for everyone up the chain, all the way to our HR department and then our insurance as well. So So you say, then what happens? So just don't let it happen is the key here. All right. Yeah, don't let it happen. All right. I think that kind of covers everything with the structure. So I think I'm here to talk about watering and then a little bit about insect pests. So what do I have to say about watering? A lot. So watering is like the most important aspect of maintaining plants in a greenhouse. And so what do you need to know? Basically throw out everything you know about watering and your own home situation. All right. That's not necessarily useful information to bring into a greenhouse. It's a little bit different. And it all starts with kind of the planning phase. So the planning phase, what is that? All right, you're going to be growing tomatoes. Well, making sure that you have all the same size pots for your tomatoes is crucial. All right. If you have a lot of different size pots, what's going to happen?
Watering schedule.
They're going to be on a different watering schedule, and that is going to be a thorn in everyone's side. So you want to keep it as uniform as possible. So starting with uniform pots for whatever you're going to be growing. The second part of that is then filling those pots correctly. And this is something I can already see is kind of crazy. Every pot has to be filled to the same amount of soil for that same crop, because otherwise you end up in the same situation as different sized pots. If one's half full and one's 3/4 full, they're going to dry down differently. So that uniformity of filling pots is crucial. And what does that look like? I think if you're, a lot of you are going to be working in teams and doing maybe different planting projects, is having one person fill all the pots. Because two people won't fill pots the same way, and then you already have kind of the path set off, so there's going to be some diversity there. So have one person fill all the pots. And the goal of filling most pots, almost all the pots you'll be using, except for maybe cell packs, have some type of rim, all right? And the goal is to have that soil basically at that level of that rim for whatever pot. Close to it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Why is that? Because you guys are going to be watering by hand, and so there has to be room for water to actually sit and then percolate through the soil. Now sometimes you go to a garden center and their soil's right up to the top, but they don't water by hand, and so that's why they can do that. But here you have to have that space. All right, so on a trade 1 gallon pot, you're going to want your soil level after you've watered it to be right around that level. All right, you're not want it right at the top, and you definitely don't want it down here. If I go around here, I can pick out a lot of pots that aren't filled properly. And that is going to set you up for basically failure, right? Because what happens? You have 2 pots, one's half filled, one's fully filled. They're on different watering schedules, but they're on a watering schedule. And you have to water to the driest one usually. And so that means everything in the half filled pots gets watered appropriately, and everything in the big pots gets overwatered. All right? Which leads to what?
Whoopsies.
Whoopsies. All kinds of problems then can happen. Root rots are a really common one, especially in this type of greenhouse. Then we get into insect pests that also like that. So fungus gnats. I was just looking at some sticky cards a little while ago, and they're loaded with fungus gnats. And that's a good sign that things have already gone on to the wet side. All right, so filling pots, that's pretty straightforward. What else we got on here?
Russ, do you like to moisten the soil before you fill the pots?
Maybe back in the 70s and 80s, you don't have to do that necessarily anymore. The potting soils have such good, what they call wetting agents in them, that they absorb water fantastic. So do you have to wet the soil? No. Are there instances when you might have to? If you have a really old bag of soil, the wetting agents have a lifespan. And so if it's 2 years old and it's bone dry, you're going to want to wet that soil because it's a pain in the butt to wet otherwise. But most soils that are coming off of pallets and are fresh, they'll absorb water great. All right, so you don't need to pre-wet those. You can fill the pot, add your plant, and then water. Another thing that we saw a lot last year, we had your fellow master gardener, Brittany Lord. She was spending a lot of time in here doing various activities, and she did some nice documents. But I'm going to share one of them with you. It was kind of, here, I'll let you pass it around. I'm going to grab one so I can remind myself what's going on here. About watering, kind of filling trays. Greenhouses, bottom watering, not appropriate, all right? No pots should be standing in containers that don't have holes, all right? That's a huge no-no. It works in a home situation, but it doesn't work in a greenhouse, all right? So don't have any solid trays. When you fill the trays, she has a great shot here of pots that were jammed into a tray, and some of them are like at a 90-degree angle, a 45-degree angle. Some are flat, some are not. All right, what does that affect? How the water can actually percolate into that pot. If it's like this in the tray, what's going to happen? It's just going to water to that edge and then flow out. Be a waste of water and probably not absorb enough. What else do we got here? Oh, this is good, really important. The size of the plant that you put in a pot is really important, right? So when we're germinating seeds, you generally start small and then you transplant up, all right? Transplant up into the appropriate size pot. We saw a lot last year where plants were transplanted and they were super tiny into a large pot. And then they were in a tray that had no drain holes. And they just sat there and rotted because it was just constantly wet. So you want to get into transplanting into the appropriate size pot. And as part of that, you know, be ruthless. All right? If you grow a row of seedlings and one of them is a little bit smaller than the others, don't try to save that guy. Just take care of it early on. Sacrifice them, all right? Because we want uniformity, all right? I know that's a really hard thing for a lot of folks to do, all right? But it's more about getting all of them equal than trying to save that one straggler. Because that one straggler is just going to be a thorn in the side the whole the way through the process. And then probably not get sold anyways. It'll be at the plant sale and maybe left over because it doesn't look so great.
One of the things to interject about that, we want to make sure that, as Russ says, you're doing that all along so that we're not taking up space and effort on something that's not going to survive. But for God's sakes, do the hard decisions before we transport it to the fairgrounds, because that's what happened last year. Is plant after plant was taken over there. Wasted time and space that we had to dump. So do that before we transport it, please.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're bringing stuff from home, do it before you leave home, right? So, yeah.
Or leave it at home.
Yeah, get it as early in the stage as possible. Then the other kind of piece is how you organize your plants on a tray. Not on a tray, on a bench, all right? It should be all the same size pots, all the same size plant material, grouped together. This is going to help with your watering practices. You don't want a gallon pot here, a 4-inch pot there, and then cell packs next to that. You want to do a whole bench of gallon pots, and then if you have cell, then go to whatever, 4-inch pots and then cell packs. Not have them mixed up on the bench. That's another level of just, continuity and making things easier for yourself. All right. That covers a lot of the backgrounds. Then it comes to actual watering. Watering. So, watering hoses can get really hot in a greenhouse. So, you're getting ready to water, hopefully. Do not turn it on here. Turn it on over here and feel it, right? If it's hot, wait till it runs cool. It might take... What's that?
Point it out the door.
Yeah, point it out the door. But make sure you check, all right? And don't turn it on here because you're just going to blast soil out of there. If you're doing seedlings, it's going to be even worse. And then when it comes to watering, it is the most boring thing in the world, but it has to be done right, and it has to be done, it is super important. So if I had... I would pet peeve here, right? Why?
Because they're not really from Thailand.
I would just throw this away if this was me. I know that might not be easy for for you all. And then, yeah, look at the different levels that they're filled to. Okay, we want to be up here by this rim. So on and so forth.
It's a good example.
There's a great example. Yeah, that is, yeah, a nice one. Yeah, all right, so that's filled just about perfectly, right? When we're watering, I'm just going to,
Water that one, it's a little dry.
I'm going to actually water all these even though they're already wet.
Okay.
Just because. Just for demonstration purposes. So, all right, we turn the water on, and you're going to water it. I count in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you want to use Mississippi's, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. All right? And you may have to go back. These are already wet, so they're draining. You water until it leaches out the bottom, all right? And, we're generally shooting for somewhere between like 10 and 30% of the total volume to leach through the bottom of every watering, all right? So if you're watering and you notice nothing's coming out, then you didn't water it properly. There are some other aspects of that to determine kind of, all right, do I need to water? And so there's actually 3 things. Often we use visuals. Is the soil dry? All right? Okay, that looks dry. The other visual that we use, well, no, that's the only visual we use. The other one is it heavy? All right? So you should have an idea for the weight of your pot between when it's wet, when it's moist, and when it's dry, because they will weigh different amounts. And I think the weight is probably the most important aspect to understand of determining water need. And then what's the third one? So you got eyesight, you got weight. What else could you do?
Feel your finger.
Yeah, you could stick your finger in it and be, oh, is that wet or is that dry? Right? Like, feel that one. Right?
Yeah, dry all the way down there. Yep.
Pick it up though. It's got a little bit of heft to it still.
Yep. Yeah.
You might be
there
able
is
to go,
a
yeah.
bit of water on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though that it looks really dry, there's no leaves on it, right? It's not going to be sucking up a lot of water. So you might be able to go 3-4 days without watering this, or more. So you do that. Do you have to do that with every pot? No. If they're organized in an area of the same size, filled the same, you only got to test 1 or 2, right? And then you're going to be watering everything to that same level. Do not get in the habit of watering this plant and not this one and then this one, because then that erraticness is just going to continue on and you'll never be able to even it out. The other piece to really pay attention to there goes to the weather station. So Roger, I think that's great, the QR code, fantastic. And then look at the forecast as well, because when you water is going to be determined by weather. If it's hot and it's sunny, you got to water more frequently. We all know that March and April, you might go 7 days without seeing the sun, right? And in that situation, you want to always be on the drier side, all right? You don't want to be wet going into a 7 or 8 day period of no sun. You want to be on the dry side, all right? So I would always err on the dry side.
Which kind of goes to how often people should water or schedule watering. If you're just coming once a week, you may miss, if the person coming on, let's say Saturday, decided that you didn't need water, and then you had a stretch of really hot, warm days, and then you don't have somebody until the next Saturday. So it starts being beneficial to have a little bit of a wiggle room there so that you're checking them more often.
Yeah, in most growth periods, every other day is probably an okay range, right? So maybe at this time of year you can go a week without any problem. But as we're getting into the end of March and early April and into May, having someone every other day is probably a good schedule. Are they going to be watering every time? Not necessarily, hopefully not. But at least you have someone setting eyes on it. And then hopefully they're communicating with whoever's next. Like, okay, I was in there and it was moist, but it might need to be watered, you know, which might mean coming in the morning versus coming in the afternoon of your scheduled day. I don't know if there's any kind of communications like that happening, but that would be ideal. I know Brittany and I, we used to do all the plants for the demo garden, and we would text back and forth, like, I'll be there on Monday, I'll be there on Wednesday, they'll be on Friday, who's going to come on the weekend? What time are you going to be there? Like, if I'm going in there on Friday afternoon, I'll let Brittany know I was there Friday afternoon, right? So that she knows that that wasn't Friday morning, because that's half a day of watering time different.
Especially if it's hot.
Especially if it's hot. And it can get hot in here. It will get hot in here.
They have a lot of leaves.
Yeah, a lot of leaves, size, the pot, anything about watering that I'm missing. I don't even know what my notes are anymore.
Last year you went over how to, like, physically up and down, back and forth.
Yeah, so these are single pots. I think we had trays last year.
We did.
And so when you water trays, it's
Tray behind
Here's a tray right here.
No, why is it?
Alright, so typically you would have many trays, alright, on your bench. And just move this stuff down. And that is me, actually. I'm going to water like right there, so I don't want to. So when you're doing trays, you're going to choose blocks to plant. So, not to plant, to water. Alright, so these are all the same trays, this whole branch. My arm can only reach so far. So the pattern by which you water trays, you will usually find whatever that pattern is going to be. And so I'm just watering nothing here, as if the bench was full. And then you would go back in the other direction, right? Opposite direction. And you continue like this until you have, at the same pace, you're moving your arm at the same height and hitting the same number of cells. So you can hit 20 cells, you can hit 2 cells, it just depends on where you hold it. And you just move through the pattern going in different directions. If you start in the same spot every time, what happens? The same spots get dry. Alright, so that's why we alternate directions with every pass. So this way, and then this way, start somewhere different. Alright? Yeah.
Is that a lot of pressure for the little 72 cells? I mean, you know, those, a
Yeah.
lot of pressure. So do we turn it down somewhere before we start, or do we not blast it? Or?
You definitely turn it on somewhere else. And there's different.
Isn't there an adjustment on that to turn down the?
Now this is not the standard type of nozzle that I would typically use.
I'd like to be able to have much more nozzle.
Nice.
Yeah, I like the wands where you actually have different heads with different pressures. But we use this one just because with the wands it wasn't coming out quite right. But we'll work on that to get it so that it's right. But you want, like, the heads that I typically use, they're called lemon heads, and that they're actually count the number of holes in the head. And each one provides a different pressure. So you want one with a lot of fine holes versus a lot of coarse holes, which would be, for a pot like this.
Right.
So a 72 tray or a seedling tray, that's a lot. But if it was tomatoes in this, I don't care if they bend over. I don't care if I knock them over. Hopefully they're strong enough to stand back up.
We probably won't have 72 plum trays in here. They'll be in growers' homes. When they move in here, they'll be the full spots.
I was just worried about that much pressure on all the little guys.
Yeah.
Really little guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tomatoes, if they fall over and they get stuck to the ground, they'll pick themselves back up. If they don't, I would say they're junk.
Survival of the fittest.
It's a rough
You live or you die.
Let's keep moving.
That's really good, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. So the trays, yeah. Oh, the trays and the pressure. I think that covers water. So
I
everyone,
think so.
Time of day, Russ?
time of day.
Morning?
I mean, ideally morning, right? So it gives them plenty of time. But it's really going to depend on the weather conditions and the other schedules. So I would not want to come in here and water regularly at 4 p.m. It's just a bad recipe. So coming in when the plant foliage can dry off before you head into the cool night is ideal. So morning over evening, for sure. But there's circumstances that come along with that. What else do we got? Any other watering questions? Cool.
Is there mild fertilizer mixed in with that at all, or?
What's the story with are we going to do fertilizer or not?
We can talk about it, but when we say, oh, we've got 30 varieties of plants, does one size fit all?
That injector's here to stay, so you're welcome to
Well, it is here to stay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one size will fit all.
We can manage it to get it something close enough.
The fertilizer is the siphon system, and it hooks up in series with the water line. In the next couple of weeks, if any one team thinks they need to start fertilizing, let me know, and we will set it up and figure out what kind of ratios work the best. Russ, you didn't say anything about pesticides?
No, we're getting the pest next.
Okay,
They
go for it.
so,
Till they need it. Which is different for everything. It's tough to talk about fertilizing in a large group with diverse plant material. We'll try to hit for something that's in the middle that can be used with every watering. Whether you decide to do that or not will be up to you, but we can definitely set it up that way.
Okay. We could possibly, if we set up a second reel, we could make one reel fertilizer and the other one
Clear water.
clear water.
I like it. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. The last piece about watering, the nozzle should never touch the ground. All right? Do not let it touch the ground. In most greenhouses, if it happens once, they tell you about it. If it happens the second time, you gotta walk home. Don't keep you employed.
why is that?
It's because of pathogens. So there's so many. You can see the ground. It's covered in soil. We walk in here. There's so many pathogens in ordinary soil, but in a greenhouse, it's a relatively sterile environment. So once you have one of those pathogens in here, they can run rampant and they can easily blow around or be moved with water. So if you put the nozzle on the ground, it gets some spores on it, and then you go to water it, you're pushing those spores into that pot. And then there's not a lot of good biology in that pot to combat that like there is in outdoor soil. So that is why. So moving on to insect pests. I see a lot of sticky cards around, which is great. All right. Sticky cards are not a control; they're a monitoring tool. All right. So one of the really important things of having sticky cards is having someone look at them, and also having someone to look at them that can identify what's on there and to record it.
Fungus gnats?
Yeah, there's a lot of fungus gnats on it. So typically the way sticky cards are, in a greenhouse like this, you might need 4 sticky cards is more than enough. All right? You put in 4 sticky cards, and someone would come every week and look at that card and count how many fungus gnats are on there, how many whiteflies, how many aphids. You would either replace a new sticky card on there or circle the ones that you counted on there so that they don't get counted again the next week. And it is kind of patterns of populations that you're watching over time. Instead of just there's a fungus gnat on there. Well, yeah, there's probably going to be. But is the population growing or not, right? Did I have 10 last week and 100 this week? Well, then that's going to determine whether you have to intervene. And fungus gnats, of which there's a lot.
Wow.
That's under there. Maybe 50.
Yeah, there's a handful. All right. Oh, on the other side, there's a good amount. And I'm willing to, so you guys had Brittany last year doing this, and so she's not available this year. So if there's someone that wants to take on this task, I'd be more than happy to kind of walk through the identification on sticky cards. But it can, just in a passing by, almost all these are fungus gnats.
Because it's early, we don't have aphids yet, that'd be the next one, right?
Yeah, aphids would be next.
But there's not here.
Thrips.
Thrips, white flies, shore flies, different things, yeah. Fungus gnats, so what do they tell you? Tells you it's too wet. And so the only way to really manage fungus gnat populations well is through appropriate watering practices. And that's allowing plants to get on the dry side, because their larvae can't handle, their larvae are actually in the pots and feed on the roots. And so their larvae are in there, and if you allow it to dry down completely between waterings, it basically nicks their life cycle in the pot. So they can be managed that way.
Russ, how do you intervene? How do you intervene now, like, other than like watching watering practices?
We're not allowed to do anything here, right?
Oh yeah, so really important. This is on county property, right? And so in Massachusetts, you can use pesticides on your own property, but you cannot use pesticides on the property of another without a pesticide license. And so there are no pesticides that can be used. Does that mean, what about insecticidal soap? That's a registered pesticide, okay? So do not use anything, even if you think it's a really safe or organic, they're still pesticides, and so they can't be used in here. So if you had a situation where you had to treat something, what do you have to do?
Take it home.
Take it home, yep.
Spray it at home.
Spray it at home.
Bring it back.
Yep.
Is that for one particular plant or for all of them? That the sticky cards?
It is for all of them. Yeah, there's a lot of sticky cards in here right now, but yeah, if you had 4 sticky cards in here, that's enough. Because they're not a control tool. They don't do anything for control. They're literally there just to tell you what's there.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all too wet.
That's true too, yeah. It would be a generalization. But this isn't collecting fungus gnats from here. This is collecting fungus gnats from here. Alright? The insects that go to yellow sticky cards are attracted to the color. And so it's not just a small area that they're covering. And in a lot of situations, folks would only have 1 sticky card in a greenhouse this size. And it would pick up things.
Question. We know, like, when we start bringing seedlings in, and I put them perennials or how, does that mean, can you actually, like, once you get everything out of here and just open up the doors and blow things? So, because the insects would be in the pots. I was just wondering in order to, like, almost like a air out.
Yeah, the winter is often a period of time when you can control a lot of things, right? Here you'll...
Sorry about that.
Here, they're here, and the windows are going to open, and so they're going to be in the new material soon. You might need some magnification, right? Because all these insects in greenhouses are small, so you won't necessarily see them. So you're going to bring some magnification, you're going to look hard, and you're going to look for things like whiteflies, things like aphids. Aphids love the succulent tips. So, you want to actually get in there and look, are there aphids in there?
Do you want us to give them a hose down if there is, or?
I want you to squish them.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you
By the
saw,
million?
yeah, if there were a lot of aphids in here, if you can, just if you see a patch, just rub it out, squish them. If there's a section that is infested, well, we'll probably move it outside of the greenhouse so it doesn't contribute to others.
You can hose them off, but.
Yeah, they'll come. They're not killed by a hosing. Yeah, we might have to isolate. They might have to go away. There's other options, but we'll come to that bridge when we get there. So you're going to be monitoring the plants here, but the key way to keep things out of here is monitoring them before they get here. So if you're bringing plants in, you want to make sure that you do the thoroughest check when they leave wherever they're coming from. All right. Don't do the check here. Do the check before they leave, and that will help out a lot because most of these pests come in with other crops, especially aphids and thrips. What else do I want to say along these
Well,
lines?
so what I was going to say is we're going to update that whiteboard that's over there with the updated list of the committee chairs. So if you're in here watering herbs or perennials or tomatoes and you happen to walk by the blah, blah, blah table and you see critters, like some kind of pest, the telephone number is up there. Can you please let them know so that they can come? Like, I don't think we want the tomato people carting off trays of herbs that they've decided are infested. But if you can please let the team member that is in charge of that call so that they can come remedy it. And so we'll get that up there so everybody has a telephone number. Same thing along that line is if you walk by a table and you realize the basil is wilting and it's super dry, that you call somebody. We haven't gotten down to the watering thing yet and how we're going to manage that, whether it's individual teams or the whole greenhouse. The vote that I've heard from multiple team leaders is they want to manage their own plants. So therefore, I don't know whether we want you watering plants that, you haven't signed up to do. But if you can please call them, that would be great.
So insects, you can see those. The other important thing to look for is disease. And in greenhouses, there's two really common diseases that are on this. One is powdery mildew. I'm sure you're all familiar with powdery mildew. It'll show up on something for sure. And, there's not a lot that we can do about it. We'll try to manage humidity and whatnot, but picking off leaves. The other one is something that we can most certainly do something about, and that is botrytis. And so botrytis is kind of like bread mold, right? If you leave bread out for long enough, it's going to get moldy. And botrytis is kind of like that for plants. So anytime that there's like a lot of plant debris that is senescing or dying, that is how botrytis actually gets going in a greenhouse. It can survive on this stuff and then will then go into infect other things. So doing really good diligent cleanup. All right, so that means getting rid of all this inoculum in all the plants. And so what should you do with that stuff? I think there are some containers in here for putting plant material in, right?
But we have two barrels. One is sort of general trash, the other is plant material.
So you put the plant material in there, okay? So you go clean up, put it in the barrel. What do you do if the barrel is got a lot of stuff in it?
Yeah.
Empty it. Where are we going to empty it?
Home. No, outside.
You don't have to empty it at home. There's a pile of dirt kind of as you walk up to the greenhouse right over here.
Yeah.
You can empty it on that pile of dirt, all right? Do not empty it out the back door, all right? If you're in here, maybe you see a lot of weeds. Pull the weeds, all right? They're definitely a source of disease and insects. Don't throw the weeds out the back door. Put them on the compost pile.
Throw your debris on the ground.
Yeah, we want to keep the ground as clean as possible, so there's some brooms in here.
Got brooms. I'll go through with a leaf blower on occasion.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just constant maintenance, that's all.
Yeah, constant.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, because it was the mold, the insects. Anybody have any other questions?
And the last person out in the afternoon, make sure the doors are shut.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. The watershed.
Yeah, so
And the water.
In the water.
yeah, the water in the door is crucial important. So Roger talked about how much lift there is. Well, if you leave the doors in here, that's the only way the lift gets in here. And so that can be a disaster.
The other thing with watering, be careful a little bit around where the heat mats are. There's a lot of electricity, a lot of water, and a lot of electricity don't mix well.
And back to the physical plant, as Roger mentioned, the ventilation louvers and the sides over here, as you can see, roll up based on the temperature in here. But if you come in here and it's 100-degree sauna, call Roger or one of us to let us know, because that means something's wrong with either the mechanical sides or the louvers, and stuff does happen. So, right?
Yeah, I think we've got it pretty much under control right now.
Yeah.
We're not going to open up the sides fully because that's too much wind for stuff that's just starting out, but in another month we'll go up, another 1.5 feet, and we'll really be able to air this place out pretty well.
One other thing is temperature flow relative to above and below. When you start bringing plants in here, obviously it's warmer the closer up to the warm ceiling it is, and below is colder. The same thing with the sides. The sides are going to be colder, so when you're deciding what plants go where, maybe don't put the basil over by the sides. Put it more in the center. Don't put basil underneath here. You can put parsley underneath there, but be cognizant of the fact that warmer, colder, warmer.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, the cold on the edge at night can be extreme.
Right.
If you use the back door, there's 2 little wooden stakes that you put in so the door doesn't blow open, and the front door has a little wire thing you put around the handle so it doesn't blow off. That's about it.
You're going to be installing a latch.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
With a lot.
I think we could make one.
The only thing, I have been here plenty of times when I've been the only person in here, and it's a little creepy. So the railroad tracks are back there. There's usually nobody back here, but it might be good to try and either partner up or have an idea. It's just a little creepy back here, especially you hear the rustle of the envelope in the wind, and you can't really hear anything out there. I don't know. It's just creepy. Saying that, you men probably don't care, but we're all women are sort of aware of that stuff. So just be mindful of that.
It's not a bad idea to have a partner to come here with.
Right.
So you trip and fall. Yeah, more fun. I don't have anything else. I don't
All
think.
right. Well, unless you guys have any other questions or want to talk individually, we're done. So we got a large delivery today. I think your committee chairs know this. The various teams are organizing for themselves how to pick up things. So if you're the tomato team, you'll get communication from them. If you're the herb team, you'll get communication from them, because sometimes it varies. Sometimes they're dropping things off, and other times they're having you come here to the hoop house. Let me just reiterate to any of the team captains or the co-chairs that are here, please keep track of what you use. Not that we're trying to be controlling. I'm a little bit nervous that we have all those beautiful bags of soil out there, and we just don't want them to disappear. We put the pots in here. The soil will stay out there. So if you take bags of soil, just kind of keep like a little stick list of 4, and now he took 5, etc. So
can I interject something? If
Yeah.
you don't need a whole bag, you don't
Yeah.
need a big one. Bring a container, like your 5-gallon, and then just take what you need.
Yeah.
Because we're certainly happy to give you what you need for perennial people. I'm a perennial person, but certainly, taking a whole bag, no. If you only need half, just take what you need.
definitely don't take a whole bag.
One of these tubs.
Is there a separate type for seedling starts or versus perennials?
Yes,
I'm
there
sorry,
is.
say it again? Yeah, you can talk to me later if you want to talk perennials.
There is propagation mix that is specifically for seed starting for
Yes.
any of those teams, different than what
Different than
Dahlia is
potting.
going to use, different than what
But,
perennials
yeah,
are going
ours
to
is the
use.
sun pro.
So yeah, I've been communicating with the various co-chairs of what we've gotten and what's there, so they kind of know. We've sort of like put things places. I mean, those team people should know. So please don't just come in here and take stuff without communicating with your co-chair of where's my stuff, what does it look like, etc. Because we have deep plugs for tomatoes and natives. Those aren't for herbs and veggies, for instance. We have 4-inch regular pots for herbs and veggies later, but we have deep ones for tomatoes. So I need your help in making sure you're taking what you're expecting to take.
You can write on the boxes.
We can write on the boxes, but some are split. Like I put herbs and veggies on there,
Okay.
and I put dahlias down there. So yes, but right. Yeah, and if anybody's confused, I'm Michele Baker. Let me know. Okay.
I am.
So anything else? All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming.
Did you look at this?